Welcome to the Redemptive Economics Podcast, where we are empowering Christian entrepreneurs to make a redemptive economic impact here in Pittsburgh and beyond.
Let's get to work!
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I am your host, Mike Hatch, and I am really grateful to be with you today. You're in for a great interview today with Jeff Hancher, author of the new book, Firm Feedback in a Fragile World. Now, as you may know, we are in the middle of a series entitled the Redemptive Economics Fundamentals series, where I'm doing a broad brush overview of the 15 redemptive economic principles that's acting like a primer for the digital course that I just released, which is entitled The Redemptive Enterprise, 15 Biblical Principles to Build a Profitable Business of Eternal Significance. Normally, I would release that episode today, but I'm still putting the final touches on the 5th installment. So I am still hoping to release that, post that this week, maybe Friday. And so session 5 and 6 will cover the 5 principles under creating kingdom value through faithful work. In the meantime, as many of you know, we are already into the digital course. This is the 3rd week now where we are covering the 5 redemptive economic principles under stewardship, under God's dominion. Week 1, we covered principles number 1 and 2. Last week, we covered principle number 3, and this week, on Wednesday, we will be covering principle number 4, which is we reject idleness and dependence on coercive redistribution, instead choosing to create, build, and invest wisely, knowing that we will give an account for our management of God's resources. Again, you'll have the opportunity to see that session live this Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Just visit the link in the show notes to register for $25. That's for the whole thing, all 12 sessions of the digital course, $25. And then you have the opportunity to attend the live session this Wednesday, and then I will take about 30 or 40 minutes for anyone who has questions with regards to the content and how to apply that to your business context. Again, my goal is to help ensure profitability in this life and eternal reward in the next for your business. You're going to build a robust theology around your business and vocational calling that's going to serve as a plumb line for everything else from your mission statement to your operations manual. So click the link in the show notes, register for $25, and you will receive each of these courses as they are released weekly on Wednesdays. I am really looking forward to being with you. Now, let's get into our interview with Jeff Hancher. You've probably all heard this statement before, we need to talk. It's a phrase that can fill us with dread. For many, the statement signals conflict or criticism. But what if it didn't? What if feedback and conversations in your workplace inspired growth, built trust, and created thriving teams? Well, today we're going to be talking with Jeff Hancher, the author of Firm Feedback in a Fragile World. And I'm really excited to talk to Jeff about giving feedback in a constructive way, in a God-honoring way. And we're going to find out more about that today. But first of all, I just want to welcome you to the show. Thank you for coming, especially if you're new to the show and listening for the first time, a special welcome to you. Thank you for entrusting your most valuable resource, your time, with me during this episode. And I really think it's going to pay off big for you because I know the value that Jeff brings. So welcome. If you are interested in learning more about redemptive economics or about Truth at Work roundtables, please reach out to me at mhatch@redemptiveeconomics.com. I would love to hear from you, especially if you're a business owner. I'd love to hear about your business, your journey, and the ways God is using you in His redemptive purposes in the marketplace. So please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear feedback about this podcast. Are there topics or guests that I need to cover or have on? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. This is an open source project, which means that it is not just dependent on me. It can't be. It's got to be dependent on all of us casting our lots in and seeking God for His direction for this. So please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you and find out what you think. All right, Jeff Hancher is a leadership expert, executive coach, and keynote speaker dedicated to helping individuals and organizations reach their fullest potential. Growing up in southwestern Pennsylvania, Jeff faced significant challenges as the son of parents medically unable to work. And by the way, you can go back to one of my earlier episodes where I actually interviewed Jeff, and we get a pretty comprehensive view of his story. I'd really encourage you to go check that out. Those hardships instilled in him a deep drive to create a better life for his family and inspire others to do the same. Today, Jeff focuses on leadership development through executive coaching, training, and keynote speaking. He also hosts the award-winning Champion Forum podcast. His mission is to equip leaders and teams to grow, thrive, and leave a lasting legacy. Jeff Hancher, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Good to be back. Thank you. It's one more and we got the hat trick. So I'll have to maybe write another book. I don't know. But man, always good to be on the show. I certainly believe in what you're building, the community that you're building. And listeners, thank you as well for tuning in and having me back. You know, these conversations are what I'm absolutely passionate about, is equipping leaders to reach their fullest potential. Absolutely,
Jeff. Absolutely. Yeah, you are one of, I think, 2 that I've had back now. You're the second person that I've had back a second time. So congratulations.
I'm about breaking records, Mike. I'm about breaking records. Right. I gotta figure it out.
That's right, man. That's right. You know what it's like. You've been podcasting for a while, and I just broke into the 50s. So I'm in that place where I can start bringing in some other guests that I've had before. You, of course, was one of the top ones on my list. Also, it was amazing to be at the Live to Lead event last fall. Mike McCormick puts that on. Sorry, Mike McCormick and Mike McCormick, father-son duo. I'll be doing it again this year. But had you speak, and you came and shared about the subject matter of your book, Firm Feedback. And brother, it was you were at least for me, not to put anybody else down, because people did a great job, but man, you were the highlight for me at that event. It was so well done. And what I loved, too, was your humility afterwards. You came up to me afterwards and said, what could I have done better? I really appreciated that, and appreciated your and that's not easy, especially after you lay it all out on the line and you speak. And you do a lot of this, so you know what this is like. It's a very vulnerable place to be. And so to be willing to open up and receive criticism and feedback right in that moment, it just shows that you've practiced this, if you will, for a long time. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, and you're somebody I trust. So I don't ask everybody that question, right?
That's a good point.
You know, if you want horrible advice, go to mom and say, how do you think I'm doing, Mom? You know, because mom's going to be like, oh, my gosh, you're the best thing ever. You're amazing, right? It's not that you don't trust your mom, but it's like there's certain people in your life that you want the feedback because you want to get better, right? And I believe at the heart of everybody that's true. Some have experiences that have been bad and whatnot that, you know, kind of hold them back from that. You know, the best way to explain that is a stray dog. You know, have we ever tried to rescue a stray? You know, what you don't do is say, hey, your hard days are over. I'm here to help. And they just jump in the car and everything's great. That's not how it goes.
No.
Like you're there trying to help and they might actually bite you. And all you're doing is trying to help, but they're biting you. Why? Because they've been hurt, they've been beat, they've been bruised by other people, and why would you be any different? And so if you really care about the dog, though, you don't give up. You bring some treats. You start to feed them. You start to show them that you care. And then slowly but surely, there's this connection that's built between you and this dog that you just met. And next thing you know, they're in the back seat of the car. Next thing you know, they're cleaned up. Next thing you know, they start putting on some weight back. Next thing you know, they're part of the family.
That's right.
But it doesn't always start that way. And as leaders, we need to know how to navigate that. And that's not easy.
Yep. And in a sense, and people can go back and listen to your story, and some of it will come up in this conversation, I'm sure, too, but you were that dog.
100% yes, which is why I'm so passionate about the subject.
Part of your story, right, exactly.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be who I am had leaders not come into my life. And now more than ever, look, I'm sure they've been saying this for generations, but since I've been alive, I think it's harder to lead now than it ever has been before. I mean, you're battling through, you know, post-pandemic. You're battling through great resignation. You're battling through the highest turnover percentages we've seen. Now you're battling through layoffs. We've battled through economic challenges, political transitions, you name it, gender diversity. I mean, look, let's get real. I mean, this is what we're leading in the workplace. Substance abuse is higher than it's ever been. You know, leaders are like, gosh, what I want to say and what I'm comfortable saying are miles apart. And so we just kind of default to this norm. And here's what I've learned through doing these workshops over the last 5 years, Mike. Leaders aren't being taught. They're just not being taught how to do this the right way. And so that's why I am passionate, because I am a benefactor of some hard feedback. And so it can be done.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're right. I'm talking to executives and business leaders all the time in my round tables at Truth at Work, for example, and that is a constant resounding kind of feeling that they're having, this hesitation, to maybe give that firm feedback to some of their employees, because honestly, they're afraid they're going to lose them, and these folks are hard to come by these days. A lot of people these days, as you just described, the culture, the environment we're in, I mean, they are settling for warm bodies because there are so few people willing to work,
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And it's a tough thing to navigate, certainly, but we know that this feedback thing is real.
Yeah.
I also know that the challenge is real. The challenge is absolutely real. I mean, quiet quitting is estimated now to be costing the global economy $9 trillion a year.
Wow. Every
year. And, I hate to say it, and I'm sure this doesn't apply to any of your listeners, but these are the stats. 65%, and this was a national poll, 65% of leaders agree that they give effective feedback to their team members. But when their same team members were asked, only 21% of them said that they even had any feedback in the last 7 days.
Yep.
There is a gap between what leaders think is happening and what the effectiveness is of that happening. Yeah. And if I'm too tough on people, I'll break them.
Yeah.
If I'm too soft on people, I'll be taken advantage of. So where do we go? Well, listen, I'll help you get there, but first you got to believe it, right? And here's how you go about believing it. If I were to ask every listener that's listening in today to think about 3 leaders that have had the biggest impact on your life. This could be a teacher, an aunt, an uncle, a mom, a dad, a coach, a boss, whatever it is. These are 3 that you think back and you're like, had that leader not come in my life, I wouldn't be who I am. We all have those 3. Yeah. And you don't have to think hard. You know who they are. But here's the follow-up question now that you have those 3 people in your mind. Were they tough on you? The answer is always yes. Yep. The answer is always yes. Here's the follow-up to that one. Did they care? And the answer is yes. Yeah. So what we're proving here is the people that have had the biggest impact on your life, they cared well. Yep. They were firm. They were tough. And they weren't just bosses that you reported to. They were leaders that you didn't want to let down.
That's very true.
Now we have the chance to take a framework and adopt it to our leadership style and brand and do that for other people. Will we be in the top 3 of somebody's lineup? And what if we're not? What if we're not?
Hey guys, are you ready to start buying Bitcoin, but maybe you're hesitant because of the unique challenges in the areas of exchanges and custody and tax planning? That is where my good friend and brother in Christ, Josh Bryant, and his company, Freedom Trust, comes in. Freedom Trust brings years of experience to address these issues in collaboration with trusted industry custodians and service providers. Freedom Trust is a registered investment advisor, and Josh specializes as an advisor for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. He works with individuals, businesses, and as a partner to other registered investment advisors who need expertise in the custody of Bitcoin and digital assets. Josh can guide you through the complexities of cryptocurrency investments, providing personalized strategies to manage and protect your assets effectively. Find out more and contact my good buddy Josh Bryant today at freedomtrust.com. And let's start embracing Bitcoin, the only monetary protocol that abides by God's mandate for just weights and measures. Seneca Hills Bible Camp and Retreat Center is a hidden gem located just north of Pittsburgh in Venango County. Personally, when I attended their men's weekend, I was blown away by the beauty of the surroundings, the quality of the facilities, and the superiority of the cuisine. This is not your typical camp food, folks. Seneca Hills hosts year-round retreats and conferences, but their true passion is summer camp, where campers, both kids and adults, escape the everyday tyranny of screens and distractions and immerse themselves in 250 acres of God's gorgeous creation. Go to SenecaHills.org or call my good buddy, Executive Director Lyndon Fowler, to learn more about how Seneca Hills Bible Camp and Retreat Center can help you, your kids, or your business create unforgettable memories, meaningful friendships, and a deeper understanding of God's love. Man. Well, and that goes to one of the questions I'm going to get to here in just a second, and I think you kind of already spoke to this, but I just want to ask the question, just in case anything new comes up in your mind to share, but why did you write the book?
Yeah, this has been the passion project. Mm-hmm. You know, I thought a little bit about my story, Mike, and I have a great mentor. His name's Tim Elmore. You might know Tim from the Maxwell team. But okay. I was having lunch with Tim one day, and he encouraged me. He was very firm in telling me, you need to write a book. And he said, what would you write a book about, Jeff? I said, I think I'd write a book about my life. I'd write a book about, growing up in poverty. And he's like, stop, don't, you're not doing that. That's a horrible idea.
Wow.
And he says now, if you know Tim, he's got the biggest heart.
Yeah.
He says, nobody cares about your story. He said, you have to do something that make people want to know about your story. He said, your story's amazing, but there's tons of stories out there. Just go turn on the Hallmark Channel. They're everywhere. And he was like, what problem can you solve? Mm-hmm. And I looked back to my performance management workshop. We've sold it out every time. The feedback's been amazing. And I thought, you know what? I think this is the framework that leaders need right now. So I pitched it to Tim, and Tim was like, this is tremendous. So we talked to Mark Cole, the CEO of Maxwell Company. I did this Shark Tank contest.
Oh, yeah.
And Mark's exact words were, Jeff, if I wasn't a man of integrity, I would steal your idea and I'd write the book myself. My heart around this book is to serve leaders because, so often leaders get the title, but nobody has ever mentored them. Nobody's ever guided them. Yep. They just try to teach their team to do it how they did it when they were in the individual contributor role. And then it gets crazy because everybody's wired different. There's somebody on somebody's team right now that was just told yesterday that their mom is going into hospice care. There's somebody right now that had to deploy Narcan because their son overdosed again. There's somebody right now that just found out that their wife has been having an affair and they have a pending divorce coming. These are the people on our team. These are the people we're leading. And that might be doom and gloom, but I'm just telling you, the higher you go in leadership, the more people that you lead, the greater the odds are of this. Now let's combine that with turnovers higher than ever and all the things that we talked about. And we have people that we're leading that are not always perfect and not getting the job done. And leaders that don't know how to go through this framework of expectations, feedback, accountability, they might go straight to accountability. And that's the leader that carries the stick and says, if you step out of line, you're getting whacked. Then you have the other extreme, which is the passive leader who does a pretty good job setting expectations and tells you, look, on this stretch of road, it's 55 miles an hour. Don't speed. Mm-hmm. But then somebody goes 90 miles an hour, and they just act like they don't see them because they don't want to rock the boat. Yeah. Somewhere in the middle there is this feedback piece that bridges the gap between what you want and what's actually happening. And there's a high cost of not doing this well.
It's a great. So let's go into that then, Jeff. Tell us a little bit about what is the cost of not doing this right? Because and I've got a follow up to that, but let's start there.
Yeah, there is a business cost, certainly.
Yeah.
We all have business goals. If you're leading in a company, a church, there are goals, and there are things that we're trying to achieve, and we need our team members to do that. But then there is this lead the people and the people will take care of the business mentality, which I appreciate very much. You know, the rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing. I mean, imagine this. If we can make everybody on your team 10% better, what does that do to your organization?
Yeah.
It's compounding,
Huge.
right? Yeah. But there's also another whole side of this leadership thing, which are these deposits that earn you the right to make a withdrawal. Here's what we know about leadership. There are going to be withdrawals. We need more sales. We need the project done a day earlier. We need the expense report immediately. We need. These are withdrawals. Well, the only way to earn the right to a withdrawal is with a deposit. This is the feedback piece of how do I give? How do I earn the right to have a tough conversation? You know, there's going to be a time that you have to look somebody in the face and say, you're getting written up for that because it's unacceptable. There's a time that you need to do that, even to somebody that you care about on your team. Yeah. And that happened to me. The moment that resonates with me most, Mike, you know, I get this truck driver job at Cintas Uniform Company, and life's good. I'm making good money. I bought a new vehicle. I wanted to get promoted into sales. I had to work hard to get to that promotion. Finally, I got to the promotion. I sucked at the job. I wasn't that good at it. I was working hard. I just didn't have a lot of skill. And my sales manager, Sean, he would always jump in the car and he would go on sales calls with me. He would take some of my sales calls and let me watch him do it. We'd get back in the car after I did a sales call and he would coach me and he would say, you should have asked this question instead of that one. When they did this, you should have done that. He'd pull me into his office and help me write, prospecting scripts and role play with me. I mean, this guy wanted to see me win. This is a guy knowing that I came from poverty. I didn't have a lot. I'm a young man just trying to start out. I get promoted into sales. It's a white-collar job. This is a guy that took me into the men's room and taught me how to tie a Windsor knot.
Yes, I remember that.
You know, this is a guy that took me to Joseph A. Bank and told me about white-collar fashion. Way above and beyond what normal would be. And I start to recover. I start to put up some really good results to the point that I'm pacing to make President's Club halfway through the year.
Wow. One
morning I get a call from my dad, and he said, you got to get to the hospital quick. It's not good. And now, look, I had gotten that call a lot. I had a mom that was really, really sick with a disease called lupus. But I went like I always went. And this day it was different. And I'm glad I went because I got to hold my mom in my arms, me and my brother, my dad, and watch her pass.
Man.
And it hit me so hard, Mike. I was so broken. My why for success was so that my mom wouldn't have to cut pills in half to make it from copay to copay. You know, to get them out of that one-bedroom, high-rise apartment into maybe a neighborhood. This was my driving force. I didn't care about a President's Club. I didn't care about a trophy that I would win. I wanted to make change for my family. And when all this happened with my mom, I fell into depression. I fell into anger. I had no motivation to sell, to work. I probably was not a good teammate to be around. I only spoke when I was spoken to. My head was always down. And Sean gave me a little bit of a leash. He let me grieve. But after a couple of weeks, he pulled me into his office, and the words came out, enough's enough. Enough is enough. You've grieved, but I'm not going to sit here and let you destroy your life. Not to mention, you still have a lot of family left that is counting on you to win. You have a golden opportunity to create a life for yourself that maybe otherwise wouldn't be possible. I'm not going to let you throw it away. But if you choose to throw it away, you can't be on my team. I can't allow you to stay on my team. I don't allow this performance from anybody. I've given you 3 weeks. I'm not asking for perfection, but I'm asking you to control your attitude and start doing work. And if you can't do that, I understand, but you can't be here.
Wow.
Then he went on to tell me why he was doing what he was doing. Now, here's what I remembered. I know this guy cares. He spent time in the car. He taught me how to tie a tie. He took me to Joseph A. Bank. He role-played scripts with me. He did all of these things.
Yeah.
Mike, I was in such a bad mental place at that point. I don't know if there was anybody else on the planet that could have got away with what he did that day. I would have probably just said, you know what, have a great life. I quit.
Yeah.
But because it was Sean, I often think back to that moment, because let's fast forward from that moment. I make President's Club. I make several more. I go from being a child, growing up a child in poverty with no direction, no college degree, a blue-collar truck driver, to getting promoted 12 times in that Fortune 500 company to a senior leader, and now running my own company.
Yeah.
I wonder if Sean doesn't have that firm conversation that he earned the right to have, if the Jeff Hancher that's on this amazing show today even exists. I don't know if it does.
Wow. Man,
that's the cost.
Yeah. Stakes are high.
The stakes are high.
And you know, I was also thinking from a Christian perspective, as a leader who's a Christian, who's called to lead self-sacrificially as Christ did. We're supposed to be lead like he has, and to build into others like that. There can actually be eternal consequences as well that play into this, right? So these can actually compound into even greater things in people's lives. And we have, especially in roles of authority, I think we have a certain amount of, we have influence, you know, to a certain extent, but you have to also, as you said, in a sense, earn the right to be heard. But you do have a certain influence from being in a position. But if you just take that authority from that and try to just tell people what to do and where to go and stuff, obviously that's not going to be good. You're going to have really negative impacts on them. But so speak, if you would, a little bit to the eternal consequences of this as well. And I don't know how many Christian podcasts you've been on, but maybe you've had a chance to talk about this or not. But I mean, clearly in your situation, this guy, I don't know if Sean was a Christian or not, but his influence and investment in you had eternal ramifications, it seems.
100%.
Talk a little bit about what that looks like for the Christian leader specifically. Truth at Work executive peer advisory groups are a life and business changing experience. Trust me, I've experienced it myself. It made such an impact on me that I stepped out to become a chapter president myself. At Truth at Work, we're dedicated to helping Christian business leaders who feel isolated and overwhelmed. Our community of like-minded peers are here to help leaders like you live out your faith in the marketplace and build your business on biblical principles. Christian business leaders are transformed through these peer advisory groups that apply biblical truth for living out our faith in all areas of life. If you'd like to learn more about Truth at Work, email me, Mike Hatch, at mhatch@truthatwork.org, or you can email my counterpart, Dave Hartman, at dhartman@truthatwork.org. Sovereign.io is the Bitcoin consulting company for businesses. They provide strategic advisory, tailored education, and seamless onboarding to a Bitcoin standard. Adopting new technology alone can be daunting and filled with unnecessary pitfalls. Working with a trusted sovereign advisor can help you avoid costly mistakes and position you for success from the outset. With over a century of collective Bitcoin experience, they've overcome the challenges so you can leverage their experience. Make sure you click the link in the show notes to get 2 essential Bitcoin guides: Bitcoin Simplified, a clear, concise introduction to Bitcoin, and The Business Case for Bitcoin, the world's first in-depth ebook on Bitcoin's place in corporate finance and strategy. Bitcoin is a solution to the problem that every company on the planet faces. Understanding and adopting this sweeping technology will be the key for all business leaders in 2025. Talk a little bit about what that looks like for the Christian leaders specifically.
Yeah, leadership is a calling. There's no question. Leadership is appointed. We know this.
Absolutely.
And so if you carry a title, it's no longer a job. It is a calling, because the Bible tells us that leadership is appointed by God. And there's a reason that the Lord allows leaders to be in their appointed place.
Yeah.
But let's make no mistake, there is a difference between appointed authority and earned authority. And earned authority doesn't require a title. So often appointed authority can just come in and say, look, I'm the king, kiss the ring, right? It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
And from a kingdom standpoint, like I think about my life and I think about that moment, many moments like that. I will tell you one of the things, and it's not the most important, but I rank it pretty highly, what I've been able to give to the kingdom financially. Buildings, renovations, construction, missions trips, supporting missionaries, all of these different things. I mean, last I checked, we don't have, ordained holy divine money trees anywhere that I have seen. I haven't seen them. The Lord has chosen to use people to fund the move of God. And, the wealth of the wicked is being stored up for the righteous, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And, I'm not saying like I'm robbing the wicked and using their money for good. But what I am saying is I firmly believe that as a Christian leader, we have a duty and obligation to help people reach their fullest potential for multiple reasons. One is because when we equip the saints, they can have bigger impact.
That's right.
Going to church doesn't make you a Christian any more than being in a garage makes you a mechanic.
That's right.
Like, you got to have impact. You got to have influence. And I'm over the fact of a John 3:16 shirt is going to be the salvation call for the world.
Right.
I say wear it. I'm not hating.
Right.
But what I am saying is if we can get Christians to step up with influence, there's many of people running the world right now that are unrighteous that people listen to because they have a platform. I say let the Christian leader stand up and have a voice and create skill and teach people how to build wealth and run companies and do businesses and pull those skills into ministry so that we can be more effective. There's something to be said about that. And we see it all throughout the Bible with Elijah and Elisha and, Jethro and Moses, and you could go down the list. I mean, the first delegation of leadership story ever in the Bible was Jethro and Moses, when Moses was trying to judge everybody, and Jethro was like, time out, you need help. Find people and delegate to them and find worthy people and train. And, so we see this all throughout the Bible because part of it is reproduction. Multiplication is better than addition. And when you're a Christian leader, what you're doing is you're reproducing yourself and other people so that the message can continue forward. That's the high calling of faith-filled leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And when you think about it, God has confronted us with the brutal reality that we are sinful and in need of a Savior, right? Like it's very clear. He doesn't mince words, but he sacrifices himself on our behalf to fulfill the need that we have, to forgive us of our sins and to cleanse us and restore us into a right relationship with him. You see the same principles play out in our relationship with the Lord, right? Yeah. Over and over again, which is amazing. And we get the opportunity, after being redeemed ourselves, we have literally the presence of God inside of us through the Holy Spirit to then affect and influence others for God's kingdom purposes. Man, you just never know what that's going to do to someone in their life.
It's true.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, I was the most unlikely candidate. I assure you. I didn't know what a collar stay was. I didn't talk right. I didn't know how to match my shoes and my belt. Like, I didn't know anything. I was ready to work hard, but I didn't have anything. It was the deposits of leaders, which is why I've become so passionate about it, Mike. I quit a pretty good job because I want to spend the rest of my life equipping leaders. I believe it's that important. There's somebody on your team right now or the leader listening, there's somebody that is going to be placed in your life that you can literally have a profound impact. It might not be a mom or dad. It might not be a coach. It might not be the teacher. It might be you. Yeah. Like Sean had that impact on me and many, many other leaders. It might be you. And that stray dog might even try to bite you.
That's right.
They might even try to bite you. That's why I wrote the book, because I think we got a couple leaders. We got the leader that's like, look, If they don't want it, I don't really care. If they're not willing, they can hit the road, Jack. Don't let the door hit you. I'll find somebody else just like you.
Yeah.
Suit yourself. Then you have the other leader that might be, you know what, I just want to love people. I just want to serve people. You know, the Bible says serve, 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 and they serve with no boundary. This is the leader that's a doormat, and people are quitting them. They're quitting the team. And in the exit interview, they say, listen, boss, you're the best thing ever. You're one of the nicest guys I've ever met. I know you generally care about people, but I quit. They like you. They don't respect you.
Right.
You know, being liked means, all right, you want to be liked as a leader, bring in sheet cake on everybody's birthday, have pony rides and ice cream socials on Friday. You're going to be very liked, but you're also going to be stabbed in the back, betrayed. People are going to take advantage of you. And if you're listening and that's you, I love you. I love you. But you know this is true because it's happening in your personal life too.
Yeah.
You set expectations, but there's no accountability. And then the other leader is high accountability, no feedback. That's like giving somebody a speeding ticket and never putting up a sign. Can you imagine getting pulled over on your way home today? And there's no speed limit signs, by the way, ever. They've never been existed. Imagine with me.
Yeah.
And you get pulled over, and the police officer throws a ticket in and says you were speeding. How would you feel?
Oh, man, right.
How fast was I going? What is the speed limit? Not my problem. And can you imagine this feeling? We have leaders doing this, and it's not because they're monsters. They've just never been taught this framework. That's why I wrote the book. The book is giving us this guide, literally a guide, to do these elements in a way that we can make the highest impact that we can.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's on pre-order right now, but I've been looking at the summary description of it on the back, and it looks like it says you've got some reflection questions
Every chapter
throughout the book. Perfect. Oh, I love that. So it sounds like you mentioned the practicality of it. It sounds like kind of the structure of the book is meant to work through methodically and intentionally, and maybe to apply as you're going along. I mean, would you say that's accurate?
100% accurate.
Okay.
Yes. You know, the goal isn't to sell a lot of books, although we want to, because the goal is to impact a lot of people, and hence we need to sell a lot of books. But we didn't want it to make it just another book that, you know, you would read on Christmas break to say you got smarter. We wanted to make it very applicable. And so not only does each session of the end of chapter have these application activities and questions, but our pre-order strategy, we're giving away all the bonuses. And so, you know, you pre-order with us between now and I think June 17th is the launch, and 2 weeks after that is the season of the launch. But we did this exclusive interview where I was interviewed about why did I write the book and what am I hoping that the reader gets out of it. You know, that's free. If you buy one book, you get the leadership playbook that comes with the book. This is where I provide you tools in how to deliver feedback, foster the accountability that makes for great leadership, strengthen your emotional intelligence. So we have, for our pre-order people, we're sending you a curriculum so that you can follow through with this, and it's not just another check in the box, a book that you read, but you're literally going to have a guide that's going to help you execute on these principles so that we can... you know, I get so frustrated when people come to my workshops and they're like, wow, that was good. You know, I'm really fired up, and I follow up in 30 days. I'm like, how's things going? Did you do the one thing? And they're like, oh, no, I got so busy. Like, I don't want my book to be that. And that's why we've created these other tools for folks that are gracious enough to support us through the launch.
That's great. That's great. One of the things you say that you develop as you read through this book and work through the content and do some of the things you just mentioned is developing a self-awareness and eliminating some blind spots. Can you talk a little bit about how that contributes to our lack of feedback and maybe relational intuitiveness with people?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those, like, you just don't know what you don't know. Self-awareness is the key to growth. You know, hey, I'll put it to you this way, Mike. You know, if you don't know, you don't know, right? And who's going to tell you?
Yeah.
I mean, let's have a candid conversation for just a minute to role play with our listener.
Okay.
So, Mike, if I ever noticed we're at a social event or whatever, and I smelled that your breath was not fresh. It stunk.
Yeah.
Would you want me to tell you?
Absolutely.
You would.
Yep.
You would.
Either
Fantastic.
that or maybe offer a piece of gum, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So check this out, Mike. Why would that be important to you?
Because I would be concerned about offending other people. Not just you, of course. So in a sense, that was my blind spot, right? I think you're alluding to.
And so now you're telling me the why of why minty, fresh breath is important to you. So now imagine this. Imagine I never asked the question. Imagine you and I have never met before. We're in a convenience store. You're behind me in line, and I turn around and I say, "Listen, your breath stinks." Because that hits different, right?
It does.
I might be offended. Might be offended, and here's why you would be offended: because I haven't earned the right to say it.
Right.
When I sit down with you and I say, if your breath ever stinks, Mike, would you want me to tell you? Now you say yes, and I say, why would you want me to tell you? Now not only am I going to tell you, but when I tell you, I'm going to tell you why you told me that was important to you. That's the framework. Now think about that. When you tell somebody their breath stinks, that's vulnerable. Mm-hmm. That's vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a hard thing to say. But everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know. Listener, you want to know, right? You do.
Yeah.
But the right person needs to tell you. We all got that one friend that's like, dude, you got broccoli in your tooth. We're happy about it. But if the wrong person tells us, we're so embarrassed and ashamed.
Yeah.
As leaders, we have to earn the right. And part of that is through asking the right questions and understanding why success is important to people. Because when Sean came in that office that one day, he reminded me, you still have family left. Your son is 18 months old. You plan to have more children. You've told me that one of your goals was to make sure that your kids didn't have it like you. You're going to throw this away now? You're going to let this go now? Now, look, if you don't earn the right to do that and your boss comes in and says, listen, you've had enough time crying, you better get your act together, you can get out. I would have just walked out. And who knows where that would have went. And so self-awareness is key, because if I don't tell you your breath stinks and nobody else does, you can't even fix it. You can't even fix it. This is how leaders are a lot. They want to be a good leader. I don't think anybody listening is like, look, the goal is to be a horrible leader. That's never the goal. But as you start reading this book, you should start asking yourself the hard questions. Am I doing this? Am I really doing this? Am I spending time with my people asking them the right questions? Does my team really understand the expectation? Or was it the VHS tape they watched in 1999 when they were onboarded? That's the last time they heard about it. By the way, are my expectations reasonable and fair? I need somebody to run a 4-minute mile because that's what the team needs. That doesn't mean anybody can.
Yeah, right.
Are we setting people up to fail? Are we establishing goals? Are we checking in with them frequently to give them feedback on the goals and the expectations? And when their breath does stink, are we willing to tell them?
Yeah.
Are we willing for people to get emotional and cry or yell or be embarrassed? Are we willing? Are we going to do this in a way that we're just presenting data versus emotion? Because the data, Mike, in this role play is your breath stinks.
Yeah.
That's just data.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
I'm not even embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what you want to know. Your breath stinks. Like Sean did that day. Your attitude sucks, man. That's real data.
Yeah.
It just does. Your performance is falling behind standard. It just is. But I've earned the right to have this conversation because I know your why. And if you don't correct this, we're going to keep going down the wrong path. There is a framework here. I'm not telling you it's easy. Yeah. But I will tell you it's simple. And I will tell you that it can happen. And I've helped plenty of leaders navigate this framework. I was taught this, in essence. And now I'm teaching it to people. if we can go through this book, identify our areas that are weak, identify the areas that we need to shore up, and maybe get over ourselves and become a leader that's different than the one we are today, which isn't comfortable for everybody.
No.
If you read this book and you define that I'm doing it grossly wrong, but I'm committed to being a better leader, get ready for high turnover. Because when you start doing it right all of a sudden, not everybody's going to appreciate that. So are you willing to play the long game?
Oh.
Do you care enough about your people that you're willing to have a season that might be a little tough, and not a lot of leaders are. They just aren't.
Well, and you're kind of hitting on something too that I was thinking of as you were sharing, and that is we talk about the feedback and the significance of it for the person you're giving the feedback to, and that relationship you're developing there, right? But also that has ripple effects throughout the rest of the company and the other employees, because they watch you. They probably know your blind spots better than you sometimes. If you're
no doubt about it.
And so when you mishandle something like that, I sense that there's a certain lack of security for everybody else as a result of that, right? Jeff Doherty with Allstate Insurance has the distinction of being the very first sponsor of the Redemptive Economics podcast, and I couldn't be happier to promote his services. I've known Jeff for many years now, both as his pastor and friend. And man, I can say with confidence that he is a man of strong faith who aligns well with the redemptive economics values. So reach out to Jeff. He can offer you options for a wide variety of coverage and services. He's committed to helping Pittsburgh residents assess their immediate and long-term needs and choose options that will help you achieve your goals. When you want to explore options for protecting your home, personal property, or financial future, Jeff Doherty is your guy. You'll find Jeff's contact information in the show notes. Hey, go grab a cup of coffee with him, get to know him, even if it's just to review your current coverage in case you need to make adjustments. And I promise you're going to love Jeff every bit as much as I do. TBD Bookkeeping is who I use for my bookkeeping needs, and I'm thrilled to recommend them to you. As business owners with 3 kids themselves, Ryan and Danielle Hatch understand the value of time and the importance of work-life balance. TBD Bookkeeping can take over the day-to-day bookkeeping of your business so you can focus more on growth, operations, and customer relationships. I can speak from experience. If you're a business owner, you need a bookkeeper, and TBD Bookkeeping is simply the best in the business. Find their contact information in the show notes, and when you mention Redemptive Economics, you'll receive 10% off your first 3 months. Call TBD Bookkeeping today and learn more about the benefits I've experienced. More time, peace of mind, and the ability to plan for the future.
Yeah, we talk about that in one of the chapters of the art of receiving feedback. And by the way, all feedback is not created equal. It doesn't even mean that their feedback is accurate. Yeah. But all feedback is a gift. And have we created an environment, and do we even know how to create an environment of feedback? Because we all have blind spots. Yep. And if we have a kind of this kiss the ring mentality, we're never going to get feedback in fear of people feeling our wrath, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's ways that we talk about in the book about how to be a leader that welcomes feedback, but also filters the feedback, because not all feedback is accurate. But we should want all of it, and it should be okay. But again, we got to be willing to change, because doing it the right way can be a very lonely place, and not everybody's going to enjoy that. I mean, a lot of people kind of like it how it is now. They like kind of taking advantage of you, and they like the sheet cake on the birthday, and they kind of like cutting out early on Friday, and they kind of like not getting things done on time. That's kind of nice. If you were a parent listening, and you took your kid to the doctor, and the doctor says the blood work came back, they're pre-diabetic. Hey, parent, let me ask you, do you feed them a lot of sugar? Yeah. We have a candy drawer. But I'll tell you, man, when they eat candy, they really calm down. It seems to really get them calmed down. How long have you been feeding them candy like this? Gosh, since they were probably 2. Well, here's what I want to tell you. If they keep eating sugar like that, they're probably we're going to have to install an insulin pump, and later in life they could go blind and maybe even lose their feet. As a parent, what would you do? You would sit that child down and say, listen, we got some hard decisions to make. No more sugar. You know what that kid's going to look at that parent and say? You're a monster. What are you talking about, no sugar?
Absolutely.
All this time it's been fine, and now it's not? And now you're going to tell me what to do? The kid's not going to like it. But would you push forward? You would. You would push through the discomfort because you care about that kid that much. My prayer is that there's a leader listening that is saying, or at the result of reading my book, says, I know I'm not the leader that I'm called to be, but I'm going to make change. That they have the boldness to push through that discomfort to become the leader that they can be. That's my prayer for this book.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Jeff. So I'm thinking about the leaders who are listening right now and hearing all this too. And the thought that came into my mind was, okay, most leaders that I know, and whether it be in my Truth at Work roundtables, or you probably experience this in your own coaching and your own cohorts that you conduct as well, they feel incredibly alone and isolated. And you just alluded to that a little bit. How important is, because I feel like the leader who is in that place and is isolated is incredibly vulnerable to all sorts of things. And we see this in the church, sadly. Like, it just seems like a whole pile of leaders have just fallen over the cliff in recent years when it comes to moral failures. The same thing can happen in the corporate world, of course. So, man, talk about the significance of having that place or those relationships as a leader where you can actually receive the feedback from others and how important that is.
Yeah, and I think it has to be healthy in nature too, because you don't want all feedback from your team.
Right.
The people that are reporting to you.
Yep.
And this is the loneliest place of leadership is senior leadership. The entrepreneur that's running the company, or the senior leader that, doesn't have many people up above them in the org chart. Like, where do you go? And to your point, pastors. Where do pastors go to church?
Yeah, right. Oh,
I
know.
This all the time. Like, where do we go to? Where does the pastor go to church?
Yep.
Well, at their church.
Yeah.
But they're the one preaching. So where do they get fed? Right? And this is the same way with senior leaders in the business world, which is why it can be lonely. Like, the pastor isn't like secretly attending church somewhere to get fed. They're doing what Jesus did. They go away, in isolation, and they get fed. But I will tell you, like, you show me a pastor that's isolated and alone, and I'll tell you one that's vulnerable to failure. We have to surround them. It's no different in leadership. As iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. This is absolutely critical. One, because you need people that can tell you when your breath stinks. We need that. But we also need that encourager, that person that's going to offer encouragement, inspiration, but also accountability when they need it. Look, a pastor needs to hear from their friend, their pastor, are you staying in the Word? Are you committed to prayer? Hey, look, I'm going to tell you right now, just because you have clergy on your business card doesn't mean that you have a relationship with God. It might mean that you have figured out how to deliver a great sermon.
Oh, and that's scary but true.
There's a difference, and I'm not here to challenge pastors, but I guess I am. There has to be a level of accountability, somebody that you can open up to in that space. And the same with leadership. I mean, isn't it true that most of us try to show up looking like and acting like we have it all together? Yep. We want to be credible. We want people to take us seriously. Well, listen, you better find somebody that you can pull into a drive-through, grab a coffee, sit in the car, and maybe throw down a couple tears and say, I'm inadequate. I feel like Moses. I'm not qualified. Let me tell you why I suck, God. I'm not called. No, and then you got that friend that says, all right, enough's enough. No, you're beautifully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
You're not the first person that has gone through this challenge. We need that for leadership. I can't give that to every leader in the planet.
Yeah.
Which is why I have a podcast like you, Mike. I want to serve as many, which is why I'm writing the book. I want to serve leaders in that way to pull up the mirror, show them the blind spot, challenge them, hold them accountable in such a way. But man, what you're doing too with that organization, I mean, the fruit that's coming from that, we need to connect in with those things.
Yeah, we need a place where we can be transparent. Now, I've heard that about your cohorts. I've heard people talk about who've been involved that it's a place where they often can. Sometimes there are tears. Sometimes there's hard things that are confronted and really difficult conversations. We say this about our Truth at Work roundtables, that sometimes, it's a safe place, but it's not always a soft place.
Yes.
It's
good.
We need that.
We need that.
Yeah.
We do.
Okay, so, man, Jeff, this has been awesome. I really, really appreciate your time today. But I want to give you a chance. Is there anything else with regards to the book or something else you want to mention before I let you go? We're good on time, actually. But anything you want to share with anybody that maybe I haven't covered yet?
Yeah, I would just say, even if you hear the book title or, look, we've heard the feedback thing before, all of these things, just realize that none of us are perfect doing it. All feedback is not created equal. We talk about this because there is a leader that is listening today that's like, I got the feedback thing figured out. And what they might be saying is, I'm very good at giving directive feedback. This is the leader that's like, I call it as I see it. And they carry that around as a banner. Well, maybe you shouldn't call it as you see it with a highly tenured peak performer. Maybe you should go with a collaborative feedback approach and ask questions before you start giving statements. Now, who does need directive feedback? The brand new employee does. The person that's about to do something dumb and hurt themselves, a safety issue. But we have multiple kinds of feedback, Socratic feedback, supportive feedback. Imagine going directive feedback to somebody to find out that the reason that their performance has been so bad is because they've been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And here you are, Mr. Directive, when what they really need from you at that moment is supportive feedback. And how do I support somebody through feedback nonetheless through that? So I would just challenge the leader listening to say, understand that there are multiple kinds of feedback. Feedback is a tool belt. The challenge is understanding when to use that different type of what they are. What is the application for them to get the best result? I lay this out in the book quite a bit, but I will tell you, it can be an absolute game changer to get you acting and thinking differently about feedback. All feedback's not created equal. The impact is not created equal. There has to be an approach to the audience that's in front of us. This is what Ken Blanchard told us was situational leadership, right? And so very, very important in that. But I guess I'll close by saying also, or if you have any other questions, Mike, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity to get content out. I'm grateful to help leaders through their challenges or lack of confidence. And speaking, if I may add one more thing, where the lack of confidence that I see comes most is in the accountability piece. This is I need to write them up. I need to tell them something they're not going to want to hear. We give two very distinct accountability strategies that literally any leader can do. And it's literally a template that you can walk through, assuming you've set clear, reasonable expectations, you've been giving ongoing feedback, you've earned the right. We give you two very distinct strategies on how to navigate the tough conversation. And when I say the tough conversation, I mean the one that every leader knows I'm talking about, the one where they're walking down the hallway and your chest starts to tighten. You can feel sweat on your palms and on your forehead. You're dreading this conversation. How do we navigate this to make it effective to where someday somebody says to us, you remember that time that you told me ... tough conversation? If you wouldn't have, I wouldn't be who I am today. That's what Sean did for me. That's what I've done for so many more. That fear, that lack of confidence, if you put to practice this framework of accountability we teach, it's at least going to give you a comfort level, because what we know and we have proved and the listener has agreed upon at this point, I think, is that every leader that has had the biggest impact on us has given us tough feedback.
Yeah.
These two strategies I talk about in the book will help you navigate that, because you might commit to, I'm ready to give tough feedback. Now what?
Right.
What do I do?
It's not a light switch. You just turn it off. You can't. Yeah.
So we give you things that literally you can practice and role play in the mirror to prepare yourself for that tough conversation. But man, always
that's so cool.
Be with you.
Absolutely. Well, okay. So a couple more thoughts that came into my mind as you're sharing that and I wish I would have shared this earlier, but that's okay. I remember when I was in high school, I had a really tough high school experience. My parents divorced, family disintegrated. It was really tough. But I had Young Life, and Young Life is a Christian outreach to high school kids. And there are these leaders, these young adult leaders who showed up at our high school campus, started building a relationship with me and some of my buddies, took us to Young Life camps all over the country, and just had a dramatic impact on me. And I remember seeing my leader interact. I was a freshman, and there was a junior that I really looked up to who was also a Christian in our school, and he was very outspoken about his faith and really looked up to this guy. And I watched our Young Life leader one time. I was sitting in the car, and I remember looking through the window behind and watching, because they were about to get in the car as well, but something came up before they got there, and they were having this difficult conversation. And I watched this Young Life leader, not yell at him, but speak very directly and forcefully in a sense about a way that this kid was acting was not right. And you know what's interesting, Jeff? I watched that, and I actually yearned for that. In that moment, I looked at that and I was like, wow, I would love to have a relationship with someone where they felt like they could give me that kind of, even at a young age, like I yearned for that. You know what I mean? I think we all do. Deep down, I think we all do, within the context of a loving relationship, because I think we know it's going to make us better, right?
That's powerful.
Yeah, man.
That's powerful. Every stray dog wants saved.
Yeah. Well said. Yes.
Right?
Well said.
They don't want to live out there,
Yes.
fighting for every meal and, getting kicked, and they don't want that.
That's right.
They don't want that. They want the feedback. They want the love. They want the accountability, the discipline. Like that's what leaders do. That's what leaders do. And when you love well and serve well and make the deposits, you earn the right to that withdrawal.
Yeah.
That's the shift.
Absolutely.
That's the shift. That's why, like, if I ever see you in public, and please do it for me too, Mike, and I'm like, hey, brother, here's a mint, and you're like, fist pump. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. I've earned the right, because I care.
That's right,
and now
man.
it's like, man, thanks for watching my back, man. Thanks, brother. Like, we can be those leaders.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so and the other thing I was going to say was just this book is, you mentioned the fact that maybe there are other books written about feedback and stuff like that, and the uniqueness of your book, which is fantastic. I'm grateful you said that. Also, we're in a very unique cultural context in the marketplace right now that we started out talking about at the very beginning, which I think is why this book is so timely right now, because it's written within that context that I think will have some really unique, visions of reality that exist right now around us. But also, you are also a very unique source of this topic because of your own story, because of what you're a product of this. So it just makes sense that this is your first book, and that it is kind of a book about your story, absolutely. But it's also very, very applicable to us and serves such a valuable need for us right now in the time that we are here in this marketplace and in the context we're in now. So,
man, there's a lot going on, Mike, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my goodness sake. Here on that note, the leader that's like ready to pull their hair out, they don't know if they want to stay in the fight, because all of this is going on and it's so, so hard. I will tell you this. The greatest leaders that we remember throughout time are the ones that rose up as heroes in the darkest hour.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Yep.
The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity to lead. And I'm begging you, stay in the fight. Stay in the fight. If there's ever been a shortage of strong leadership, it is now. We need great leaders to step up and lead the people. You know, for a lack of vision, the people perish. Who's going to carry the vision? The leaders. Yeah. We need the leaders, and we don't need soft, weak leadership. We need firm, confident, God-fearing, loving leaders that aren't afraid of tough conversations, but they're not there to make people bleed. We can find this balance. I know we can, because I've seen it in my life, and you're right, this is my passion. Yeah. Like, this is why I'm writing. I didn't, like, spin a wheel of the biggest leadership problems today, and it landed on this, and I'm like, that sounds like a great book. Like, I believe this is the book that can transform leadership. I believe it.
Yep. And it just so happened that God in his sovereignty prepared you to deliver the message, Jeff, and praise God for that, brother.
I'm grateful. Yeah, so grateful. And I mean this when I say it. You know, if there's a listener listening and you're like, man, I got to meet that guy. I bet maybe he could help. Message me. Yeah. I'm not here I'll under promise and hopefully over deliver. I don't have, more time in a day than anybody listening. But if I can help anybody, message me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or email. And if I can help you, I'll help you. If I can get you a resource, I will. That's what we're here to do. This is why we do what we do, is to serve leaders.
Amen, brother. Okay, so how can folks get the book, pre-order it? How do they follow you, get in touch with you? Where are you online?
Yeah, if you aren't interested in any of the free bonuses, just go to Amazon or wherever you buy books. If you are interested in those free bonuses, go to firmfeedbackbook.com. firmfeedbackbook.com. You buy the book, you put your receipt number, and then we once the book releases June 17th, we get you all of the bonuses, the curriculum, the 52-week leadership guide, part of the launch team, and all of the bonuses that come with that. So I can be found just about, if you Google me, you'll find the podcast, the website. It's Jeff Hancher, but it like Jolly Rancher, but it's with an H, Jeff Hancher. And I would love to be a part of the journey for sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for being with us, brother. It was so good once again to be with you.
Always good to be with you, Mike, and thank you to the listeners for tuning in.
Let's get to work!